Hello everyone and welcome to the first official Kingdom Talk of 2021 here at Beyond the Kingdoms. Like always, I'm your host David and I'm once again joined by my good friend Corliss, aka your Disney Homegirl. Hello Corliss, how are you?
Hey David, I'm so good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yeah. Happy New Year, Valentine's, St. Patrick's, spring break, all of it.
Yes, all of it.
Catching all the way up.
That's
it is
right.
so wonderful to see you like always. Guys, if you caught my announcement video early this week, I told you how Kingdom Talk is the official new name of our Q&As that we're going to do once a month. Our goal is to do this on the first Sunday of every month. Of course, this one's a little bit different. And each time we will answer your theme park questions, focusing on one specific topic. And today we're going to cover everything you've submitted to us about returning to the parks at Walt Disney World. Now, Corliss, you've been back how many times now? Just one, right?
Child, two. I've been
Two?
back twice.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yes, I went in February and then we went for spring break in March.
Awesome. I've gone back, I like to say 2.5 times because that first time I was very nervous and I pretty much stayed at Fort Wilderness the whole time and did just one little afternoon in Magic Kingdom. And I've slowly kind of gone back more in depth each time. So I think between both of us, we can cover some really good ground answering all your questions. So let's get right to it.
All right, so we've got our first question coming from Janie. Hey there, Janie. First of all, I'm so excited to see you back. And my question is, what were you most excited to see and do upon returning to the parks? And then she's got a second part, which asks, what was the biggest change you weren't expecting? So for me, I was most excited to just hear the music in person and the smells. It really is a sort of a strange sort of thing, but that was my most exciting thing that I was waiting to do. And the biggest change would have to be the wait times for the rides. I really wasn't expecting. Even though they would post a certain time, we still didn't wait that long. And I was kind of shocked at that.
It's funny you say that because mine's a little similar.
Oh.
My thing I was most excited for, well, this is different. I was, of course, really, really excited to get back to Hollywood Studios. Everyone knows that's my favorite park. And I did get to do Runaway Railway on that first opening week before it shut last year. So I was kind of itching to go back. But this is really nerdy. I was really excited to go see the new Epcot entrance. I kind of missed some of it. They put all the flags up, I think like 2 days after I went. But it was nice to see the new fountain and all that. I spent like a whole hour just photographing that whole area like a true Disney nerd. And what surprised me the most is similar to what Corliss said and has to deal with crowds. And it ties into the next question. So let me jump to that first and I'll kind of come back. So this came from Monica. And Monica said, I know Walt Disney World is operating at a lower capacity, but are crowds behaving as they did pre-pandemic in terms of crowd patterns? For example, avoid Epcot on Fridays and weekends during festivals, and are Mondays better for Magic Kingdom, etc.? Thank you very much. This is a great question. I think in general, the pattern that we've all become used to still applies. So like early 2 weeks of January, nice and quiet. September's usually quiet because of peak hurricane season. And things like, Christmas will be packed and so on. I think the big difference I've noticed now is there's a bigger swing from the weekend crowd to the weekday. I think in the last couple of years, people come from all over the place. So even though there was a sort of a subtle difference between Wednesday and Saturday, it wasn't huge. And now it's very clear to me when you shift from weekday to weekend. And I think the same happens kind of before spring break and after spring break. Like the shifts are much more drastic. But the thing I wanted to point out, and you mentioned this, Corliss, is that we kind of have to remember what we used to know in terms of crowd patterns, but we also have to shelve some things in the sense of what you see. Like, for example, I remember going to Haunted Mansion and the line was like out the entrance and zigzagged around Liberty Square, and it was super long. And back in the day, if you saw that, that would easily be an hour wait. But the posted time said like 25. And I was like, really? And I did it, I timed it, and it was like 20. So That's what I was surprised about, to go back to the previous question. So the lines spill out because of physical distancing, and that might look like this is terrible, but it's really not. Trust the wait times posted, and like Corliss said, most of the time they were overestimating. That's my 2 cents. Corliss, you've got our next question.
I do, and it comes from Patricia. My question is, what exactly does the new mask policy look like for table service dining? I've heard mixed things, like some people leave it on and only lower it to take a bite or sip, but then I've heard others say that they've removed them once their drink arrived, and that was okay. So, Patricia, thank you for that question, first of all. There is a specific regulation when it comes to masks. And as of actually today, the day we're recording, there's a new policy, not for dining, but just in general for photos. You can now remove your mask to take a photo when previously it had to be on, and a photo pass photographer would not, somehow it just wouldn't appear in your My Disney experience. Now for dining, it is very particular. It says guests should keep their mask covered, nose and mouth, until their food and drinks arrive. So make sure, personally, I did not have any table service experience while we were there. We only did quick service, but make sure that you have that mask on over your nose and your mouth while you are seated in that restaurant until I would say until your food comes. But if your drink's there, then it should be okay. Just stay with your party.
Yeah, I didn't quite do table service dining. I did like one at Disney Springs because I could sit outside. It was a little bit before the shift, but I think that rule, I was doing that naturally just because I thought that was the nice thing to do for the cast members. Great question. So sticking to food, we're moving on to a question from Liz. Liz just went during spring break, and she says, I was overzealous with my dining reservations, and adding snacks on top of that, I nearly made myself sick. It sounds like Liz was very excited to get back to Disney. Any pointers about not overeating at Disney? This is tricky. Something I kind of changed myself when I went, and it was just more from a budget perspective, but I think helps in this scenario, is I find it's really good. I now stick to trying to do breakfast in the room as much as possible. It helps me just get going a little bit quicker. I even take my own Nespresso machine for coffee in the morning. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it speeds up my morning, gets in a good breakfast, and then I found myself just snacking for most of the day and then doing a bigger meal at the end for dinner. I think right now that's the way to go for so many reasons. I think you can get more snacks in or more trying new food things if you stick to snacks and then big meal at the end. It also helps with how early the parks close now. So I think to avoid overeating, that little pattern hopefully will help. Hope that helps.
All right, our next question comes from Elliot, and it asks, my question isn't specifically about returning to the park during the tail end of the pandemic, but mainly about visiting for the first time. If you're a first-time visitor to Disney and only have one day, how should that day be spent? I know this is a loaded question. It is, but my coworker is actually in this situation. So for a first-timer, let me tell you, I did all 4 parks just recently during our spring break on my son's birthday. This is how I planned our day. We reserved and bought our theme park tickets as soon as we knew we were going. This is important. I also then made a park reservation for the park I knew was opening the earliest. So look at the park hours. So we started at Magic Kingdom. From Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom. Wrong kingdom. We started at Animal Kingdom. That was the earliest. So we boom, knocked out the attractions by 11, had lunch. From Animal Kingdom, we then transported by bus to Hollywood Studios. We were able to park hop to Hollywood Studios, knocked out a couple of attractions there. Then we moved on to Magic Kingdom from Hollywood Studios. Now from there, we then went to Epcot, and we ended at Epcot because they stayed open the latest. What's most important is that you pay attention to park hours, know which ones are opening the earliest and which ones are staying open the latest. That's if you're planning to park hop. Now, if you're not planning to park hop and you only want to visit one park during your first time visit, do that. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
Just visit that one park that's your top choice and experience everything in that park for that day from open to close.
I think you are absolutely right in terms of let the park hours dictate the order. And pretty much by and large right now, Animal Kingdom's always open the earliest, Epcot's open the latest. I would personally switch what you did, Corliss, and go Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot just because of transportation. Like Skyliner from Hollywood Studios to Epcot's going to make things easier because at the moment there's no monorail from Magic Kingdom to Epcot. So what Corliss did would work once that happens. But in general, that's a really, really good plan of attack. And you just have to accept, especially as a first timer, you will not get on everything. Don't overwhelm yourself. Hit the big highlights and just know that you won't get to do it all. The only other downside I must kind of warn people about is that because you won't start at Hollywood Studios, you won't be able to get a boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance. That's only for people who book that park for their theme park reservation and start there. But I think for a first timer, what Corliss has said is absolutely the way to go. It does mean you have to skip Rise of the Resistance, but maybe save that for like trip 2 when you're a little bit more accustomed to the whole thing and can really properly try to explore everything. So that's some really good advice. All right, let's move on to part 2 of today's questions, which explore dining some more and hotels. So Corliss is going to kick us off with our first one.
Yes, this is from Marianne, and she asks, do you think Fastpasses will return to Walt Disney World? I'm going to say yes. I do think they're going to come back. Disney's, they use every opportunity to come up with some sort of new concept. It may not be called Fastpasses, it could be, but it's going to be something spectacular that comes along with it. But I do think it'll return. I'm going to say a little secret. I don't really like Fastpasses because I felt too much pressure. Yeah, it was too much pressure to try to figure out and fight to get this, that, and the other for our family. I love just walking in the park and say, hey, this is where we're going when we got there.
I'm a hardcore planner, so in some ways I like it, but I kind of don't. I think they'll bring it back because let's face it, especially the original version, this was Disney's way to control crowd traffic and crowd patterns. And especially the original version where like you'd get the paper ticket and sometimes you'd find yourself having time to kill, that meant you'd probably spend more money in a store or on food. So it economically works to their favor. So I think they will still do it. But I will not be surprised if it's slightly tweaked. I secretly would love to get what Disneyland has with Max Pass, that you do it on the day. You don't pre-reserve it well ahead. But instead of running around like we used to, you can do it all on your phone. And I also wouldn't be surprised if it comes back on certain attractions first instead of just all of it all at once. I think they'll need to be kind of monitoring how you deal with Fastpass and physical distancing at the same time. That's going to be tricky, I think. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to add my 2 cents into that one. The next question comes from, this was submitted on YouTube by a user called Quantum Fox, and he had 2 questions. First, when will all dining locations reopen, and will they bring back the dining plan? Now, I don't work for Disney, so I can't give you an official answer, and the best advice I can give everybody is, take everything you hear on the internet with a big, huge grain of salt. But I do think that the summer's going to be the interesting time of year. I think a lot of restaurants will slowly reopen one by one. I think because Remy's Ratatouille Adventure opens on October 1st, Disney's going to kind of use that as a benchmark to try to get back to normal by that point. But I wouldn't be surprised if character dining and buffets take a little bit longer. I think that's a whole nother bag to deal with. And I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know, any buffet that's reopened is serving food family style. You're not going up to a traditional buffet. It's coming to you. I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes somewhat permanent. I kind of prefer it in a way. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. But Corliss is going to handle the second question that this person submitted.
Yeah, Quantum Fox also wants to know, what do you think about the big construction projects that'll finish up, like Ratatouille's, Epcot's entrance, Tron, and once they open, how long after should you wait to actually try to get on them? So I'm really excited about all of this stuff that's going on right now. And they're preparing for the 50th. And let me tell you, I love a good old birthday party because I do celebrate the whole month of December. So Disney would be celebrating their 50th for several months, over a year. So we will have time to experience all of these new things. I think that they will open sporadically throughout that time frame of the anniversary celebration. I never want to visit the day anything opens. However, I already told my children that we would be there the day that Splash Mountain is transformed into Tiana's attraction. So that probably would be the only thing that I plan to be there for on opening day. But, give it a good 5 or 6 months because it can stay pretty hot after an attraction initially opens. So that's what I say.
Yeah, I think they're going to reverse the original plan. I think the original plan was to get everything open by the 50th, and now I think they're going to use from the start of the 50th through the end of 21 into 2022 and sporadically do them one by one. Like I said, Remy's Ratatouille has officially been announced that it's opening October 1st. I guess that Tron could be early 22, maybe by spring break. I think Guardians of the Galaxy will be the last one to open. And the Epcot entrance is pretty much done now. The last problem about Epcot now is the middle. That's still a humongous construction zone. But I agree, Corliss, 6 months after an attraction is a good sweet spot. But of course, if they're staggered, it will be a long time if you want to wait that long. And Corliss, I hope that I get to be there with you on day one for the new Splash Mountain with Tiana. I hope you and I can ride together. Both families all together. Okay, next one comes from Jill. Jill has asked, this is dealing with hotels. Do you know if it's still possible to physically check in at a resort, or must it be mobile check-in only? Thank you ever so much. Incredibly happy you're back. Great question, Jill. Yes, you can go physically up to the kind of front desk if you need to. You will get bombarded with emails kind of pushing you to do online check-in. But if you're not comfortable with it, it's totally fine. You can physically go up to them. I did it on one stay. I forgot what the reason was, but there was something kind of quirky that I had to just go kind of sort out with the front desk, and they will happily do that for you. Corliss, have I skipped one, or do you have the next one, or do I have the next one?
No, it's on me. My turn.
Okay, good. I thought I skipped one.
This is from Rachel on Facebook, and she asks, what do you think of the changes coming to the hotels or resorts in 2021? I think the Moana overlay looks incredible. Look, let me tell you, I'm here for a theme. So I'm excited for all of these transformations and new additions for resorts. I must be honest, I don't spend a lot of time at them, but I do like to look at them. I do enjoy how it makes me feel knowing when I'm in the theming. I really feel like I'm very immersed once I get there. Like Disney does an excellent job of doing that. So I'm really excited to see how these resorts are going to turn out. But I don't do Star Wars, but I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay there one time.
Are
so
you?
That I can I'm going to try it. So I can say, yeah, I've stayed there.
Good for you. I'm like Corliss. In the past, I didn't feel like I gave enough time to resorts, but I'm very happy to semi-tease that I got to spend a lot more time at some fantastic hotels thanks to some really special people. I'm not going to quite reveal anything, but you're going to see a lot more hotel stuff going forward on the channel. And Rachel, to answer your question, I think ever since Coronado Springs added the new tower, all of the shifts that are, like Disney's clearly going in a new design direction with the hotels. Some people don't like it. I love it because against what some people say, I think the theme is still very clearly there, but it's done now in a very kind of fresh, sleek, modern kind of way that I think finds the right balance. Those Moana rooms look beautiful. It's clearly still in the theme, but it's not too much in your face. I think Disney really is finding that sweet spot. And some of the hotels I'm going to talk about soon explore just that, so stay tuned. So guys, that will have to do it for our first official Kingdom Talk of 2021. Corliss, thank you so much for doing this with me. It is always such a pleasure to have you on. And guys, if you want to find out what the next topic will be, you'll just have to follow us on social media because we'll kind of announce it when it's coming up. But the next Q&A will take place on Sunday, May 2nd. And of course, if you're not already following Corliss on social media, go ahead and do it now. You can find her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, right? If I got everything? You're all over the place.
TikTok. I'm getting into TikTok, yes.
I have not done TikTok yet. Sorry, can't come to do it. Corliss is way more down with the kids than I am.
I'm trying.
Trying to keep up. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other. And like I always say, if you can dream it, you can do it. Take care. Bye-bye.